Hello, welcome to Real Person Reviews. I'm Sam and I'm a real person. And today I want to talk to you about Angry Video Game Nerd Adventures for the Nintendo 3DS. And a few things up front. What I want to do a little differently here is that I am talking about the Nintendo 3DS version of this game. However, for the written review, which you can check out at hubworldhq.com, or the link in the description, or for this one, probably the other link in the description, as it's also on Steam. I also have that version. You can check out the written review on Hubworld for the look at both of them. It should cover both a little more effectively. Whereas the Steam version is going to talk mainly, or the Steam review is going to talk mainly about the Steam version, and this review is going to talk mainly about the 3DS version. So it's going to be a little different, a little bit crazy, but hopefully you guys don't mind that and still are going to enjoy the, video. And most likely this footage then is going to be, of course, from the 3DS one. Also, it's been a little while since I played it, so if I miss a couple things here and there, again, the written reviews are there for a reason. They're probably going to be more detailed, but, I guess I would hope that if you're getting into this, you would be a fan of the Angry Video Game Nerd. That would probably be a good idea. I'm just going to tell you that up front, that you probably should be. If you're not, a lot of this game might be lost on you, but we'll see what you think. We'll see what you guys think. Angry Video Game Nerd Adventures is a platformer, run and gun platformer, 2D, that is based on the Angry Video Game Nerd character, which you may be familiar with if you're familiar with gaming videos and reviews and such on YouTube. Usually reviews a lot of shitty games and is mad about it, typically. And this game was made to basically try to capitalize on the character and the lore built around the show and other shows by James Rolfe, who plays the titular nerd, with a basic premise of he gets pulled into a video game and then he's forced to play through the video game to try and beat the game master in order for him to be able to get out. You go through a tutorial stage at first, and then you're able to pick from a number of stages, kind of like a Mega Man-esque style. Each stage has some kind of theme to it, usually based on games that have existed and possibly piss him off. There's things like basing games on horror games, basing games on Castlevania-esque games. There's one that's more specifically referencing these Atari porn games. So there's a lot of references there going on. And the general gameplay is basically you run around by moving left and right. You have a duck, which is very, very slight. I believe there's a duck anyway, which makes you slightly duck. I could be totally wrong about that. But you move left and right. Yeah, there is a duck. There is. And you can shoot your gun. If you can shoot it in 8 directions, and if you hold the button down, you can actually shoot while standing, and just to angle your shots without having to move as well for the diagonals. But if you jump, then of course you will still move when you're hitting a direction. You'll have to get through these stages. Killing enemies, avoiding hazards, and getting some power-ups along the way. You can get a power-up to your gun to make it have more powerful shots until you get hit or die. Your health is indicated by beer bottles, and you have a certain number of continues, and there are checkpoints, so whenever you die, you go back to a checkpoint, you run out of lives, you have to use a continue. And start the level over from the beginning. Run out of continues, your game is over. Depending on your difficulty level will determine if you have an unlimited or how limited the continues are, and lives, and basically adjusts those as much, and your health as well. Along the way, you also can get some other power-ups like you can get rocks, which you throw in an arc. You can get the Glitch Gremlin, which is a reference to a reference to the show, where basically everything on the screen freezes for a few seconds. And then there's Super Mecha Death Christ, which will destroy everything on the screen. You can also find extra lives, which are just giant versions of your head laying around, kind of like Mega Man. And there's also some hidden characters for you to find in these levels. And if you find them, some of these are just cameo appearances of characters and people that you might know. And some of them are actually unlockable characters. There is there's Guitar Guy, who I mean, they're all a little different. There's Guitar Guy who has a guitar. He doesn't jump as high, but he's very fast. And his shots can go through walls and move in this kind of wave-like pattern. There's Bullshit Man, who is very slow, but has a double jump, and can shoot shots that don't go very far, but they're very, very powerful projectile shots that arc downward. Made of shit. And then there is it might just be called Mike in the game. And he's got a lightsaber for his weapon. He swings a lightsaber around. His jump is kind of fluttery, kind of like a Luigi-esque jump. He can also break certain blocks and see certain hidden blocks to find secret passages through the game as well. And you can switch between these characters on the fly whenever you would like once you've unlocked them. And they're all hidden in these stages. At the end of each stage is a boss that you'll have to take down, and then that stage is complete. Once you've completed all of these stages, there is one final stage to go through. And also another thing to note is that among all of these things you're avoiding for obstacles and enemies, there are also a lot of instant death traps. Things like spikes can kill you instantly, certain beams can kill you instantly, obviously falling into a pit will kill you instantly, and there's also these death blocks, which are just squares with skulls on them, and if you touch one of those, you will instantly be dead. So this is all made to kind of simulate the cheap shittiness of a lot of the games that he plays on the show, and trying to take elements and references, putting them together, and whenever you die, you're also greeted with a screen that says, basically, it's almost like a Mad Lib of just pieces of quotes from the show to create some kind of curse thing, like, I'd rather have something do a something than do this game, or something, it's a lot of random stuff like that. But that's essentially the game. It's just got those few difficulty modes, the different characters to find, and that's mostly it. And it's as a fan of AVGN, it's fun. It's some of the stuff. It's like, I get it. I see what they're doing. I see what they're referencing. Some of it also just references general video game stuff also. So if you've played a lot of video games, you probably would recognize some of the stuff they're referencing, especially for retro games. But as a fan of the show, I still like a lot of the stuff that's in there. I think it plays alright. I think it looks pretty colorful and it's neat. And having it on 3DS is pretty fun, just for having it on the go and play in little chunks. And it can be pretty tough, but once you learn these sections and get good at them, it's pretty doable. It's pretty manageable. You just have to really learn it and get good at it. And also, getting the secret characters can help a ton for certain situations, to help you either bypass situations or just make them a lot easier because of their natural abilities. And I think that adds a lot of replay value to if you find a character first, or if you try to play most of the game through as a character, which I did that. I tried to play through the game as all the characters. Each one, so basically I'll just go to the stage where you unlock them, and then try to play the entire game as those characters, if it was possible. So you have options for replay value like that as well, which I think is nice. It's not like it's a terribly long game. Especially, most of the length comes from if you die a lot and you're trying to figure it out and do it. And some of the music's pretty catchy too. But I do have to admit that this game does have some problems. Well, it's not the hardest game out there, but some of the difficulty does feel kind of cheap. And while that's sort of the point when it's making fun, like it's referencing these games that are made fun of on the show, but you're still doing the thing that you're not, that you're making fun of. It's done in a way that's good enough where I don't feel like it's too cheap, but sometimes it is still kind of cheap and annoying. And so you do kind of have to get over that it is going to have the design like that on purpose. But I can understand if you don't get over that, if that's more of a deal breaker for you. Some of the references are a bit much. If you're not a fan of AVGN, you're not going to get a lot of the references. You probably won't care about them. Even if you are a fan, they won't necessarily be really all that entertaining necessarily either. So I don't know. The set dressing got my foot in the door, but it didn't necessarily, wow me. And it could be the same case for you as well. I wouldn't think the game would be too terrible if it just wasn't an AVGN game and it was just the gameplay elements were there. I don't know. And it is a little generic in a lot of ways too, because it has to reference so many things and build off of all these things that have already been talked about so much. A lot of it does feel like it's just taking elements from stuff we already know and not really putting them in a cool new way. It's just kind of reusing these same elements of like here's the horror level, here's the Castlevania level, and like some of it just feels a little like some of the parts of this generally, like in general, does come off a little meh. Also, I think it does kind of take away from the game a little bit that you don't get to have each of these characters like as a selectable character to play with. It's not designed for you to just play the entire campaign as a character. Instead, you have to unlock the characters by finding them and then like using them after that. And I think that's a bit of a shame. It's kind of cool that you get to use them on the fly like that, so it's like kind of a group thing to do, I suppose. But at the same time, it's a little like, I don't know, I guess I would have preferred just full campaigns for each of them, or just like a campaign that was possible to beat with just each individual one, and then I could select them to do that, or do the normal mode where I find them. I don't know. That's probably just personal preference there. But yeah, I really can't defend some of the bullshit of instant death stuff when they have it so much in so many places. The joke of the death blocks gets old pretty fast, and then it becomes a thing of like sometimes it does feel a little like come the fuck on with that stuff. But I guess that's the point. Overall, AVGN Adventures is not a bad game. It's just kind of an average game. If you like AVGN, like these platformers like this, it's okay. You'll probably enjoy it enough. It's not like it's a super expensive game or anything. You can probably get it for $10-15, and that'd probably be fine. You'll probably enjoy it enough. I don't know if you'll play through it again or play through it very frequently, but as just an experience to have, it's not too bad. It's hard to be like, avoid it. It's just that there are better things out there. You could watch the show if you want some more of an AVGN fix, and you can play better games if you want to get a game fix. This is a weird middle point where it has some of the appeal of the show and some of the appeal of the game, but it doesn't really take the best parts of either one, and so you're left with kind of a meh overall experience. But yeah, it's not terrible or anything. It's fine. If anything, I would say it's an average game, and basically, you already know if you're interested at this point. If you're not an AVGN fan, maybe just don't bother. And if you are one, you probably already have the game, or you didn't give a shit enough to get it, and you probably still don't. But it's possible somebody found this helpful, so that would be good. That would be, I'd like that. I don't have a quote to end on. I'm just Sorry. The one time it seems appropriate and I'm not doing it. I am the worst.